Good morning, all. Wow, we've already got a viewer and a like. That's all good. That's a good start to the show. Good morning, all. Welcome to Rugby Chat, Rugby Heartland, Vault Rugby, Kyra Vault, Rugby Redefined, with myself, Kevin here, and my co-host, Jeff Alley. Good morning, Jeff. How are you feeling today after a 50-point All Black victory?
Oh, feeling pretty good, mate. Like all Black supporters are, they all feel great. It was a pretty emphatic victory, and I've actually got proof that I chose the All Blacks, picked the All Blacks in my picks by 50 points. Got it bang on. Too easy.
Cha-ching! And the TAB pay you out, did they?
It wasn't actually a bet. It was just amongst mates tipping comp. So yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah, no, I mean, great performance. One of the shows I do on the old wireless radio, they were trying to sort of get drama out of me, and I said no, 13 plus. So that was a safe bet. But no, they played really well. And it's interesting to hear everyone that was on the radio last week silent. So people, take your losses and celebrate the wins. That's all we can do now. I mean, literally, just before we came on air, I told you that I've spotted the latest world rankings. I know people hate them, but we're back up to fourth. We've hopped over England, who have dropped to fifth, only because they haven't been playing, of course. And Australia, well, they're at their lowest position ever, and they've dropped down to eighth. So Scotland and Argentina are now above Australia. So if we put on our Aussie ears, are we hearing the same chat on Talkback in Australia? Get rid of Dave Rennie?
No, we aren't, for a number of reasons. Number one, Australia has not got the mana or the record that the All Blacks have had in the last 100 plus years. It's probably the third or fourth ranked sport in Australia. So I'd say most Australians probably wouldn't really care about, what the Australian rugby team is. The staunch Australian rugby supporters have been there, done that with Australian teams over the years. But again, they're very much similar to the All Blacks, aren't they? They beat South Africa, and South Africa are the current world champions. So, they beat England in a test match. I mean, that's just the state of world rugby at the moment, isn't it? So, look, we know that Dave Rennie is a proven coach with a number of different teams. So, obviously the Australian supporters are probably thinking, well, hang on, he's had long enough, just as the way we are thinking the same with Foster as well. So, look, they've got a right to be pretty aggrieved, but again, there's some good signs there, I think, in the Australian outfit, but it comes back to what the All Blacks are showing too. It's just inconsistency. So whatever Rennie and Foster are trying to achieve with their teams, they're just not getting the consistency out of their players at all. So you've got to ask the question, why? I don't know. What do you do? I mean, look, it's interesting, isn't it? Because we're passionate All Black supporters and there's passionate Australian supporters. So we ask the questions. I don't think there's been any personal slagging of Foster. I don't think anybody's called him a dick or he's an idiot or anything like that. I think it's people like me questioning his coaching abilities and what he's trying to achieve with the All Blacks. Nothing wrong with that because we're passionate. The fact that he's come out a week after losing to Argentina for the first time in New Zealand and racked up 50 points just absolutely reinforces my point that this team is so inconsistent. We don't know what they're going to produce next Thursday night in Melbourne against Australia. Who knows? It's Jekyll and Hyde there at the moment. Until they show that consistency, I think we can all sort of relax a bit and think we're in pretty good hands. The jury's still out for me, mate. 50 points against Argentina. We'd expect that. We beat Argentina by 90 points only a few years back. So, and all of a sudden, we beat South Africa in Ellis Park, and everybody's like, whoa, we're awesome, we're back. The next week, we lose to Argentina at home. We're still 3 wins from 9 games, so don't get too cocky just yet. The jury's out. I'm not convinced.
So who decided Thursday night? Okay, really? I mean, let's be honest. Thursday night.
Sitting around a table in some boardroom. Absolute bloody lunacy.
I've got a feeling I know why. And it's because what starts this weekend in the other code? In the other code, rugby league, They're starting their finals series, right?
Yeah.
So everyone's going to be pumped up for that. So next weekend is the final. Well, what basically the semi-finals of NRL, where no one will give a rat's about rugby union because all the Aussies will be all, go Melbourne, go Roosters, go Rabbitohs.
Yeah.
And especially Melbourne, being in Melbourne, if Melbourne get up this weekend in the rugby league, everyone, there will be no one around. So that's the only reason I think is that they're trying to combat the popularity in Melbourne of rugby league.
Yeah. And again, it goes back to the lunacy, the absolute lunacy of this competition that we have at the moment. So here's the All Blacks having to go to South Africa and play South Africa twice in South Africa. Argentina having to come to New Zealand and play New Zealand twice in New Zealand. And then all of a sudden, we go to Australia once, they come to here once. Argentina goes to South Africa once, and South Africa go to Argentina once. I mean, that's just ridiculous. Why on earth did we draw South Africa twice in South Africa? Why couldn't we go to Argentina, supposedly the easier game, and play them in Argentina twice, and have South Africa come out here twice? Where's the home and away system? It's just, it's ridiculous. Sorry, it just doesn't push my buttons. And after all these years, we still can't get it right.
No, and that is correct. I mean, I still think that they should bring in someone like, if we're going to have this championship with Sansa, we all know where South Africa is. Moving all their teams up to Europe and stuff like that. I mean, it's great that we get to play South Africa. They are our foe, but at the end of the day, we showed up that we can beat them. They, on their home turf, 3 times in a row now at Ellis Park, and the thing is, but why not look at the Pacific? Why not bring back that, Fiji and Samoa, they've been going great, but for them, they need to step up with the what do you call it, Pacific Nations Cup. Because, now Japan, Samoa, Fiji, they're 10th, 11th, and 12th in the world. And if South Africa want to go and join some Six Nations type tournament, I say let them go,
Yeah.
and let's just concentrate. But one thing that I have noticed, and it has been commented on in other places, is the different. I did not have a problem with the Georgian referee a couple of weeks ago. I really didn't. And but everyone just now put him in the Northern Hemisphere refereeing type scenario. And now this week we've had 2 great games. New Zealand, Australia won. The referee's brilliant. Why is it? Because he was a Southern referee, Southern Hemisphere referee. They like the fast game. They allow the game to go quickly. Whereas apparently the Northern Hemisphere refs like to bring the game back a bit, slow it down and stuff like that. Last I looked, the rule book said World Rugby rule book.
Yeah, but it's the interpretation. I totally get what other people are trying to say, because that's exactly one of the things I wanted to approach with this program today was the difference in the refereeing styles. Now, it's the interpretation of that rule. We could, and swear to God, you and I could sit there, we could watch a game, I could have the remote in hand, and every ruck I can pause it, and we can pick up a penalty. Someone will be off their feet, someone will be entering from the side, someone will be holding on to the ball. There'll be something going on there. There'll be some offside at a ruck. And I think that the Northern referees, they're a lot more pedantic around that. And so they'll pull those up, and so it becomes a stop-start game, which again doesn't suit that All Black style of continuity. But this referee this week, was he a better referee? Well, maybe he let things slide. Maybe he just thought, no, I want to let this game flow. And it flowed, and it suited the All Blacks far better than it did the week before. So there is an element of truth to that around the interpretation of the rules. But again, it just comes back to trying to clean those rules up a bit, because you're supposed to enter a ruck and support your body weight. Now, when you've got guys doing push-ups in a ruck because they've got both hands on the grass, they're not supporting their body weight, and it should be pinged straight away. Stay on your feet. And it's just not happening. And guys are flying in. They're flying in and doing belly flops. And they should be penalised correctly. They should be penalised. And this is what the referee, I think, last week did, is he was very pedantic, and he penalised, and he ruled it to the letter of the law. But again, he slowed the game down. So who did that suit? So
Oh, exactly. I mean, oh, bit of feedback. Yeah. So yeah, no, I totally agree with that. It's sort of like there were a couple of decisions there in the weekend. I can't remember exactly who scored the try, but we got a try off the back of them all, and the three-man pod got together. The ball came to the All Blacks, and we went over. Honestly, I can't think who scored it. Sitting here with my buddy Wayne, and he went, "Hang on, that was a three-man, a three-person pod
you can't
pushover
latch. Yeah,
thing.
you can't latch before contact.
That was pulled up as an illegal move in the Black Ferns game."
Mm,
And I went, "Yeah." But I think, and then after, as you said, pause the TV and discuss it.
mm,
What happened there in the Black Ferns game was that they were still part of the ruck and the maul, and then they broke off that, whereas the other, it was a totally separate. The ball came out, and then it went to the three-man pod that pushed over. So that was an interesting sort of made us stop and think, oh, hang on, but it's the same rule with a hairline fracture down the middle that
mm,
separated it,
yeah,
and that's where I think they have to look at things like that to you know make
mm.
the game
Yeah, comes
faster.
back to interpretation and how you've developed your refereeing style, etc., and what you've been taught by certain referee coaches. So then that comes back to interpretation, doesn't it? So it must
Certainly,
be frustrating for coaches to you do something on the training paddock, and all of a sudden you get pinged for it in a game.
yeah, no, that's all true. And it was also, I mean, other than that, it was a good win. We dominated the Argentinians really well. South Africa, they came out for it. I actually was quite surprised how well they won with the changes they did make. But Australia were just blown off the park. I actually thought the Australians would have been up for that game in their brand new $1 billion stadium in Kiwi money, that is, and stuff like that. But they just weren't in the game at all. And there was you have to also look at some of those players like Marika, what's his face? And
Karabati.
that's the one. And you've got to say, a lot of these Aussie guys are near the end of their careers as well. So when we come to this game next week in Melbourne, I mean, be prepared, New Zealand. Be prepared that we're going to lose that game in Melbourne. The
Mm,
only reason I say that is the God that is Adi Savia. The man can do everything. He's even taking time off to have a child. I mean, great. Congratulations, Adi. Congratulations to his whānau. But, I still have problems with that. They're away for a week. Sure, they're having a family. It's not his first. Um, so, and I do understand, how in this day and age now it's a different world and all that. So, who comes in at number 8? And so the words are that Luke Jacobson's coming back. Do we see Dalton Papali'i? Do we see Hoskins Satutu come in? Are they going to use this game in Melbourne, do you think, to try a couple of newer combinations because of the players that aren't there, with it in the back of their mind, oh, well, that's all right, the second game's at Eden Park and we never lose there, just like South Africa apparently never lose at Ellis Park. I mean, this could totally backfire, and I just think that they should still put the foot on the throat of the Australians and build on what we've just done against Argentina and not experiment too much. Would I be too wrong there?
no, again, it's a tough one, isn't it? Because we criticise this rotation system, and we're like, oh, it's a test match. You always put your best team out. Well, I mean, it depends, with the travel and with the time frames in between games. Sometimes you just can't do that. I think Foster gambled a little bit by playing that same team, but it really paid off for him. So then now what does he do? Does he keep that same team every test now? And then when are you really going to be finding out what Stephen Perifetta can do? or a Roger Tuivasa-Sheck or a Braden Enor, or a Luke Jacobson? When are you going to Tupo Vai? How much game time has he had? When are we going to find out what that next tier of players got? So at some stage, he's going to have to make some changes and give them a shot. I mean, you can't just keep playing this top 15 now. And well, whether it is a top 15, I'm not too sure. Maybe the top 17 or 18, but there's some question marks around some of the other positions and players, etc. Shannon Frizzell's out too, so we've got to have a new 6 and an 8. So then, who's it going to be? Aaron Smith's obviously our number one halfback. Do we just rest him completely and give Fakatava a bit more game time? There's on one hand, we want the win, but on the other hand too, we've got to create that depth for injuries, etc., for obvious reasons. So I think we've got 2 more test matches coming up in a row. I think Thursday next week and then the 24th, or Saturday the 24th. So there's enough time in between for those top players to back up. Boom, boom, 2 games in a row again. But is that the best thing that we should be doing right now?
I don't know, because, the thing is, when I look at it, they could wrap up the Rugby Championship with a bonus point victory in Melbourne, because the only teams behind us is Australia and Argentina. Let's be honest, South Africa will beat Argentina, he says tongue-in-cheek. But the thing is, we're 2 points ahead of them. If we can beat Australia and prevent them getting a bonus point, then we're 5-6 points ahead going into Eden Park.
Yep.
We go into Eden Park 6 points clear with the championship in the bag. Then do you make a change and put your Eden Park winning streak on the line and say, here you go, boys? Or do you then go and put your best team to keep your Eden Park streak going?
I got a couple of questions for you. Who won the 2019 World Cup?
South Africa.
Who won the 2019 Rugby Championship?
Australia. No, South Africa.
2015 World Cup? 2015 World
Cup? Us.
2015 Rugby Championship?
Australia.
No, you guessed the Rugby Championship once. My point is this.
Yeah.
I can name you every Rugby World Cup championship from 87, 91, 95. I can name every single one. If you give me a year, I couldn't tell you who won the Rugby Championship or the, whatever. It pales into insignificance. My point is this, is that, we want to win the Rugby Championship, but the bigger picture is 12 months away. And so, and again, we want to preserve that Eden Park. We want to pretend that winning streak there at Eden Park. I'm not entirely convinced in Melbourne, mate. I mean, if someone said to you got to put your house on, who are you going to pick? Far out, man. This is where we're at. That's what I mean. This is where we're at with this All Black team at the moment. In the past, we'd be like, All Blacks. All Blacks going to win. And they'd lose, and it'd be like, oh, shit, that was a shot. That was, well played, Aussie. Now it's like, far out, man. I'm not confident at all. I'm still not confident. 50 points against Argentina at home.
Yeah. Well, that's Well, that's the thing, as Kiwi supporters, we just expect us to win. But then, sometimes you sit back and you go, oh, we won by 30 points against the British Lions. Oh, that wasn't good enough, So we're always picking, it doesn't matter if we win by 1 point or we win by 100 points, And then if we do win by 100 points, they go, oh, well, that was a waste of time. But then, no, it wasn't, because you gave those players the experience. But the thing is, one thing true supporters are after are contests. And the great thing about the way World Rugby is at the moment is we're getting the contest. And we're getting tested. So, I say bring it on. If we can say go into a World Cup and say one of 6 teams can win, brilliant. And I have to agree with Yeah, and I have to agree here, though, also with my Blues mate from the coast, Mr. Newton. Bledisloe is more important. It's only a 2-game series, and we've just got to pick up the one. So not only could we lock up the Bledisloe again, when did the Aussie last have it? When the Nokia 132 was out?
2003, and the winning coach was John Mitchell. Got the Bledisloe Cup. We haven't lost it since. And what happened to him at the World Cup? We lost 1 game, got shafted. So history.
Yeah, True, true. And I mean, and when you think about it, even if we did lose the Bledisloe, it would mean a lot more to Australia. But it would be great to keep the Bledisloe here in New Zealand. I just think that in Melbourne, if they come out and they play well, and we'll end this little subject by saying they can walk away with 2 trophies after Melbourne, and I say just do it. I mean, they've got to go out and just do the business. And if Australia are down to 8th place and they get beaten again by us, hell, they could drop below Wales, and Wales they'll drop another place. So in world rankings. But anyway, let's get to the real stuff. And I was going to start off with my Heartland boys, but I don't. I'm going to start off with the NPC. Whangarei. Now, did we pick last week with Mr. William that why can't Northland get up and beat Auckland? And my God, they did.
Absolutely, yeah, amazing, wasn't it? That's so good. Yeah, just that's what I mean. I love the NPC, man. Tribalism, and it's a good close competition. So that's where my heart is for sure. I just love watching my North Harbour boys and my Waikato boys. It's awesome, and then you always sort of try and have it on in the background if I'm pottering around home, etc. Because obviously, being a married man, I can't just sit down on the couch all weekend and watch rugby as much as I'd love to. You've got to sort of get around and keep the missus happy. But you're always looking at the scores, keeping an update on the scores, and it was such a good win by the Northland boys, wasn't it? Excellent. Well done.
It certainly was. And I mean, if we have a look at the results since we were last on, so last Wednesday, Canterbury in the midweek game hosted your Harbour boys, 35-22. It was a good game. But
two B teams, though.
Yeah.
But
exactly.
again, the nature of the comp, I'm not sold on. I don't know why but it comes back to we've got to fit it into the season. We've got to cover Super Rugby. We've got to have the All Blacks. So we'll cram in this little wee competition, and we're going to make little tweaks and play some midweek games every now and again, and then we'll alternate who plays in evens pool and odds pool. I mean, come on, man, we've got to do better than that. But anyway, sorry, man, but I'm sounding pretty negative today, aren't I?
No, doesn't have anything to do with the 35-22 loss to Canterbury B team. But then on Friday night, Tasman and Manawatu, Tasman, I'm wearing their jersey, but they got up over Manawatu, who have been pretty bad this year, which is a shame. But Tasman got up in that game 36-26. And then, of course, on Saturday, we had, as I said, 23-22. I did see a video of our good buddy William, literally in the middle of nowhere, had he pulled over, and I tell you, he was one excited bunny. So big ups to him, big ups to the Taniwha. But they said it was like 30, 40 years their first win. And I'm just thinking, okay, maybe they have won though before, and I haven't delved into my record.
The Eden Park not so long ago, and I remember Rennie Ranger playing. Rennie Ranger, so it would have been within the last 10 12 years at Eden Park.
Yeah, but it was their first win at Whangarei, but I think it's their first win as Northland. I'm pretty sure that they've won up there as North Auckland when they were North Auckland, So, but anyway, awesome, and it brought the latte drinkers of Auckland back down to earth. And then we had at Yarrow Stadium the big return there for Taranaki after their stadium upgrade. And Waikato, 21-6.
Yeah, it's a good one by Waikato.
It was, especially... I don't know why Taranaki are playing so badly this year, especially after their undefeated season last year. But they've definitely taken 3 steps back, then more than 2 steps forward, sort of thing, and building on last year. And then on Saturday afternoon, we had my Wellington Lions getting up over Southlands. I thought that was going to be a bit closer, but Wellington really did dominate, and Nihi Milner-Skudder shone very well on the wing there, picking up a couple of meat pies. So they got up there, 41-28. And then, of course, we had the test matches and all that. And then so we decided let's have the 3 games on the Sunday. Canterbury, Hawke's Bay. How good was that game? Did you watch it?
No, I didn't watch anything on Sunday. I'm going to put my hand up and be honest and say we had a big night on Saturday night. Big international party we hosted here. And look at it, and I'll be blasphemous here and say I actually had the Warriors game on, believe it or not. I don't know why, but we had the Warriors game on in the background, and what a nightmare that was. So leading into the Test match, so Sunday was just a bit of cleaning up and chilling out day. So the only game I watched on Sunday was my Harbour boys.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Canterbury, I mean, it was what 28 all or something like that at one point, and it was like, oh, okay, because I'm sure they do the golden point thing now. But then Canterbury struck straight back, and then Hawke's Bay had a chance to nab it at the end, but it was just like that. Look, they ran against the clock and time ran out. So that was an awesome win, though, to Canterbury. It just goes to show how powerful they're going to be in the finals.
Mm.
And then we had Otago hosting Bay of Plenty. Well, that was another humdinger, 33-27. That game was a seesaw and a half at Forsyth Bar Stadium. And then, of course, we had your Harbour boys taking on Counties, which I'll be honest to say, that's probably the only game I didn't watch.
Well, you knew I'd be watching it for you, that's why.
Oh, well, you give me your comments on that then.
Oh, look, I just think Harbour are steadily, they're playing some really, really good footy. They're in with a shot at winning the whole thing, to be fair. I mean, yeah, Canterbury, I think, are the obvious number one team. But having said that, it's like there is probably half a dozen teams that could win it too. It's sort of on the day. And then, but I mean, they're good enough to come out with a win. But, the chances of beating the likes of Canterbury, yeah, I don't know. But no, look, I mean, you got teams playing really well. Waikato's doing very, very well. So it seems to be. I'm not too sure how they're going to run it. I think you make it'll be quarterfinals, semi-finals. Is it top four? Yeah.
Yeah, so they're going to have quarterfinals and then crossover quarterfinals,
Crossover.
semi-finals.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
something
Okay.
like that.
So it could be
It's a whole
Waikato
new.
or Canterbury final. Could be. But don't write
We're
off
looking.
Northland.
No, I mean, wouldn't that be just so awesome? Really,
Mm.
Campbell, they're the Northland boss up there, and that they've been doing big things up at Northland. They've been doing really well, and so big shout out to everyone at Taniwha Country. So okay, so basically, I still say Wellington will win it. I mean, 22 years between drinks, it's long enough. Let's bring that trophy back home to Wellington. Um, but then this weekend, it's all on. We got Tasman hosting Wellington tomorrow night at in Nelson, and then on Friday night we got Waikato versus Auckland at Waikato Stadium. So, are you travelling down for that one?
No. Probably
Oh
should, but no, I won't be.
no. And then we've got Ranfurly Shield on Saturday afternoon. So Ranfurly Shield, Hawke's Bay, Southland. Can the Stags upset? Because, Hawke's Bay have had quite a run in the last couple of weeks. Some close victories and some tough sort of away games. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to go for an upset here. I'm going to say that the Southland Stags are going to walk away with the Ranfurly Shield on Saturday afternoon.
Why?
Just because of the run that Hawke's Bay have had. They've had like those 2 or 3 games in a row. They've had the midweek game and all that sort of stuff. They were pushed to the limit on Sunday by Canterbury. They would have, exhausted a lot of gas out of the tank trying to get that win over Canterbury. And I just think, if anything, if Southland are going to get up for a game, they're going to get up for a Ranfurly Shield challenge.
Well, they're 100% this season, aren't
They are.
they? Yep,
In
5 from
losses
5.
or
5 from 5. Yeah. So I
so
can't see it.
great
Can't see it somehow, mate. I think Hawke's Bay obviously 13 plus, but the nature of the game and what have you, wouldn't surprise me if
well,
Southland
just
could
having
get
a
up
quick
there.
look. If they did win it, their first defence is against counties,
Yeah.
and then if they beat counties, their next defence is against North Harbour.
Oh, well, there you go.
you, you
Go Southland.
go Southland, exactly. I knew I'd change your mind. Oh, that's gold. I've just lost where I am now. Yeah, so then North Harbour are playing Bay of Plenty Steamers up there at North Harbour. Uh, that's going to be a big game for the Harbour boys. Steamers are on a roll.
Yep.
They're playing really well. Beating Auckland, going down to Otago, beating Otago. And, they'd love to get the double there against the Auckland based sides, I like to call them. Even though you're North Harbour and you're totally separated from Auckland, so you say. You're still Auckland, as
Absolutely.
far as I'm aware. Um, but if they can pull off the double, that'll be a rarity for the Bay of Plenty. And then counties will, I think they'll just demolish Manawatu, unfortunately, in the Saturday night game. And then on Sunday, we'll have Tasman hosting Taranaki. Well, you'd have to say Tasman will be all over Taranaki there. Sky Stadium, 2 o'clock Sunday afternoon. Well, that could be a game I could even jump in the car and go down to at Sky Stadium when Wellington take on the blue and gold of Otago. And then Canterbury, Northland. So are we all on the Taniwha train?
Absolutely. Absolutely, mate. But are you going to put your house on Northland beating Canterbury in Christchurch?
Well, I put my house on the wife winning the other day, and she came dead last. So I've got no more house to give.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. My earphone just died on me. So hang
Yeah.
on. Let's just see.
Well, I think
Hold this thought and
Canterbury's
see
looking
what
pretty
happens.
ominous.
Hopefully this all works.
I'd love Northland to
I
get
should
down there.
plug them in. So yeah. No, I'm going to go Canterbury 7 and under. There you go.
Canterbury 13 plus.
Yep, no, I can't hear you. That's the problem with earbuds. If you
They
don't plug
die.
them in, you lose your sound. I know
Yeah.
what I can do to hear me. Hopefully, it won't backfire on me here. I
Can you
will
hear me?
screen my mug to my TV screen because then my sound will work. Okay, let's see if that works. Can you say something, please, Jeff?
Hello, Kevin. Can you hear me?
I can hear you
Good.
now. Yep.
Good.
So, what I can do there is I can mute the TV at the same time so I don't get the feedback for people. So, yeah. So, what else do we have there? Yeah, so as I said, I'm still going to go Southland by 7 and under. And, yeah, let's see how completely wrong I am. If William wants to jump on, if he's floating around, I think he's actually on a road trip. We're behind the Taniwha. Go. So, Farah Palmer Cup. I'm just trying to pull that up on my screen here. What happened to your Waikato girls?
Yeah, man. They what a turnaround for Auckland. Obviously, Anna Richards did such a good job with them, and certainly, yeah, they just kept pressuring Waikato, and they just didn't have any real answers there at all. And boy, there's a couple of game breakers in that Auckland backline that were just running riot. What's her name? The right winger, Hakafina, I think it's Hafina. Can't remember, but boy, she's a beast. So interesting too, because what's happening in that Black Ferns environment with the selection of the World Cup is that some of these ladies, they're still getting an opportunity to push for the Black Ferns. And Wayne Smith's made it really clear that form in this FPC is can be counting for a spot in that World Cup side. So they've all got something to play for, and you can really see these ladies, man, they're putting their bodies on the line and really putting in the effort. Some really good performances there, but no, Auckland too good. I can't see them again. Yeah, Canterbury, man, even in the women's, they're unbeaten this year, and so I think that they'll be too strong in the semi-final and then in the final as well. Oh, in the final. Sorry.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing is, with what's happening, I mean, I don't know if you saw the news feeds today, but apparently they're going to be naming the Christchurch ground where the girls do play. I think it's the training ground. They're going to be naming it after Kendra Coxage and another lady that's just completely gone out of my brain. But apparently, it's also Kendra's 100th game for Canterbury. So, I mean, they've really pumped this up to be a celebration of her career because, as we know, she has announced her retirement at the end of the World Cup this year. And so it's going to be, uh, I'll have to say, yeah, dare I say it, the Red and Blacks of the girls, Canterbury, and I think they're going to be far too strong for the Aucklanders. I would have maybe had thought if Waikato had got up, it would have been a closer game.
Hmm.
But no, definitely, I think the Canterbury girls in Canterbury, packed house, for what they can have there, of course. And yeah, to me, it's going to be Canterbury.
Yeah. And possibly Auckland played their final last weekend too, so I'm picking Canterbury fairly easy, 10 to 12 points easy.
No, so there we go. Well, and then in the championship game, we've got Otago taking on Hawke's Bay, and I think Otago will do the business there against Hawke's Bay quite easily down south in Clutha Showgrounds of all places. So they're getting the game out to the provinces, which is a great segue out to the provinces. And last weekend we had what a weekend of Heartland Rugby, really. The televised game we had was Buller versus Poverty Bay. Buller coming off a 60-point thrashing by the North Otago Old Golds. And they turn around and win by 48-20 over Poverty Bay. No one saw that coming. But then again, no one saw them getting beaten by 70 points by North Otago the week before. That was a complete... I mean, I've spoken to the team, and they just cannot put their finger on why that result came out of, left field. They were confident. They had beaten Mid Canterbury at home. They were travelling. They were feeling good. Everything was great. And then they just, I don't know.
And then North Otago went out and got spanked by South Canterbury. It's like, what a topsy-turvy comp.
Well, it is, and it's close because even in the Wanganui East Coast game, years gone by, we would have thought, oh yeah, Wanganui easy. It wasn't easy for Wanganui. They had a battle, and for the second week in a row, Wanganui were down to 13 men. They were down to 13 men against King Country and still walked away 41 points to 3 winners the previous week. This week, they were down to 13 men and they got up 34-18. So at least East Coast took the advantage of those guys being off the field. So that was great. And then, but the one is where I do actually have to eat my hat. There you go. Literally. Might need a bit of salt and pepper. Is I will come out now and say I got it wrong. I said at the start of the season, my pick for the winner of the Meads Cup was the West Coast. Their pre-season was brilliant. Their whole environment seemed great. And now they're, after 3 weeks, sitting on 1 point.
Yep, they're 12th though, mate. That's not too bad. 12th.
Yeah.
Or 12.
Or you could say 26th out of 26 unions.
Yeah.
I don't know what's happened to the might of red and white. I'm a staunch West Coast supporter. They've got a tough battle on this weekend when they are hosting Buller at home at John Sturgeon Park for the Rundle Cup. I was asked to do up some stats for that game this weekend. They've played over the last 100-odd years 224 games. Currently, West Coast lead 106 to 103 with 15 draws. And between the two teams over 100 years, there's only 0.3 0.34 points between the two teams. Actually, I think it's 0.034. Something crazy like that. You cannot separate these two unions. They've been battling it out. Over the last 20 years, though, Buller have had the wood on West Coast. They've played 27 times, and Buller have got up 17 to 10. And I think that point average goes out from 0 point whatever to 5, just under 5 points per game per victory. So that is a huge game, and West Coast will be really, if they're looking at Lahore Cup, they have to win this weekend. Buller win, they'll be eyeing up Meads Cup, which would be really interesting because in the Meads Cup, I have Wanganui, South Canterbury, Mid Canterbury, and West Coast at the start of the season. So West Coast are gone. Mid Canterbury, believe it or not, on 9 points after one win because they picked up 4 bonus points in their 2 losses. And so they could still easily be there. They're playing North Otago and Curragh this weekend. And so it's sort of, it makes it really interesting. I think we'll see the split occur after this weekend where we'll have a better idea of who's just there to make up the numbers and who's going to be battling for those middle spots. And I've got
Wanganui, South Canterbury will be a stormer, won't it?
Yeah. Oh, Wanganui, South Canterbury. These games, this should have been the Meads Cup final last year. Let's be honest. But we didn't have semi-finals. It's going to be a battle and a half. But when it comes, got there Hamish Smiley asking who's going to win the Lahore Cup. That is really going to be a battle. I think Thames were lucky last weekend. They got they could have dropped their game to King Country. If that game went 5 minutes more, King Country would have got up. But I think there's going to be a battle between maybe Thames, Buller, and Mid Canterbury for those 3rd, 4th, and 5th spots in the Meads Cup. The loser of that would have to go into Lahore Cup as favourite. But I might just go complete left field here. And I know they had a convincing win over Wairarapa Bush, but Horowhenua seems to be getting their mojo back. So I may have to lean towards Horowhenua Kapiti for Lahore Cup. Maybe a Horowhenua Thames Valley Lahore Cup final. And at this stage, we're definitely looking at Wanganui, South Canterbury. But where is it going to be? In Wanganui? Or in Timaru somewhere? You know, that's the exciting part. And then Hamish said, that's what I want to hear. So he must be a Horowhenua supporter. I hope you are, because I'm trying to keep the peace with every union. But this weekend's games, we'll just have a quick look at who we got. So we've got Thames Valley hosting Wairarapa Bush for what they call the President's Cup, trophy donated by Mr. Ross Cooper, who played for both unions. Then we've got, as I said, North Otago, Mid Canterbury on at Curragh. We've got the Wanganui South Canterbury game at Cook's Gardens. So if you want to see top grade rugby, get down to Cook's Gardens this weekend. It will be a humdinger. We've got Horowhenua hosting King Country. I do believe Horowhenua at home are going to be far too strong for King Country. They'll be really disappointed, though, that they didn't pick up the win last week against Thames. We've got West Coast Buller, which we've mentioned. But the big game, which we can all watch on the tally, is Poverty Bay defending the Bill Osborne Tionga against Ngāti Pro East Coast from Gisborne at 2:30 on Sky. Be there. Forget about every other NPC game.
There's your Lahore Cup winners there, East Coast.
Why not? If they can pick up, they won the last time they were at Poverty Bay. Poverty Bay got up over them in the pre-season, Queen's Birthday, the traditional game, but they beat them twice last year. They're firing on all cylinders. Jose and the team will be really, they know that if they can pick this one up, they'll be win number 2 for them for the season. And if they can get that, pretty much their run home. They have a home game against West Coast, so they would feel confident there. They have an away game against King Country. They'd feel confident there. They then go to Wairarapa. They host Wairarapa Bush, whom they beat last year. So they'll be confident there. So there's 18 points, 16 points just there. And then in the final round, unfortunately, they have to travel to Timaru. Actually, Geraldine. I don't know if half the Nardi Pro boys have been to Geraldine or will even know where Geraldine is. But they've got a really easy run into that game against South Canterbury in round 8. And I think that'll be a good time for them to maybe rest a few of their Starline players for that match. Because, but then, Nardi Pro, yeah, good on them. And I still think that they will be in the Lahore Cup in the semi-finals, but whereabouts? Good question. What else have we got? Oh, yes. I have to bring it up. I am wearing the hat. Wrong World Cup, but we've got the World Cup on this weekend. I was so looking forward to watching it. And I might have to turn on my VPN. Why? Because I know I'll be able to watch it via somewhere in the world, whether it be Mongolia or Venezuela. But this rubbish of the Rugby World Cup being on Spark Sport, I know I've got people watching this here, but really, Spark Sport is there for a minute audience of people. We've got the men's New Zealand, men's and women's sevens teams there at the World Cup. There should be a rule via government, like they have in England. Sporting tournaments of national importance should be free to air.
Yep. All right. Look, I mean, I got the Spark Sport for the Black Ferns, so I could watch them. I've got an invested interest in the Black Ferns, and while it was ridiculous, I was like, well, I had no other option if I wanted to watch it. And I thought, oh well, there's a bit of cricket there. I could watch because they got the cricket rights as well. And I haven't cancelled this subscription. I forgot to actually. But having said that, I then on the weekend I thought, oh, Serena Williams is playing this. The GOAT. This could be her last game of tennis. So I flicked through Sky Sport. It's not on. I'm like, hey. So then I go, obviously Spark Sport. There it is on Spark Sport, but it kept cutting out. So I'd have to reload it all the time, and I'd reload. Then I'd get a little bit of tennis, and then it'd cut out. So then I had to go onto my phone and then cast it from my phone onto the TV to actually watch it. So it's not reliable. And again, I'll be watching the sevens on Spark Sport, but I agree, mate. It's like, man. Having said that, though, do we really want one person or one company to have a monopoly of the competition as well? So there's got to be that. But at the same time, I mean, it does make it hard, man. Really, really hard. Especially, the likes of my parents, elderly, they're pensioners. They can't, they can't afford to have Sky Sport and Spark Sport. There's a lot of people out there like that, so they're missing out.
Oh yeah, I mean totally. I mean we saw the debacle of the games, via Spark in Japan. I literally went and, as I said, brought a VPN account. I logged into England, where they were showing the games live on ITV, and I set up an account there, and I watched every Rugby World Cup uninterrupted, no buffering, nothing like that, from England. Via England. I had to put up with all the English panel talking, which was quite painful. I thought the Australians were bad, but the English are worse. But I suppose that's what I would be looking at.
Yeah, the thing is too is that like on Sky Sport, you can actually record a game, so you can go to the channel and you can pick your times. Spark Sport, I haven't worked out how I can just maybe get up at 7 a.m. or something rather and watch New Zealand. You're going to have to go back. I don't know, rewind all the way through. I don't know how to. I wouldn't know how to record an episode or a game on Spark Sport. So these games, I'm looking at them now. Midnight to 2 a.m. in the morning. It's like far out. So we're just not going to see it. We have to watch a whole episode or replays all through the day. So yeah, not conducive to good watching.
Muted myself there, so I didn't get the feedback. Well, the big game I am looking forward to, which I'll try and have a look at, is this round of 16. They have it's weird. I mean, we're so used to these pool games and all that, but literally they have these for the men qualifying round, and then the women the round of 16 straight away. It's pretty much knockout every game. But I mean, teams like what time's it on? 11 past 10. I'm just having to quickly see what day that is in New Zealand time here. I think that's Friday or Saturday, one of the two. But Australia, and I've been waiting to say this for years, Australia versus Madagascar. Whoa, go the Markies. I mean, I've been crowing the Madagascans will be at a Rugby World Cup for the last 5, 6 years. People were laughing my ass off. All I can say is, there you go. Madagascar are at the Rugby World Cup, and I'm sure we won't be seeing too many lemurs dancing with their little skirts on and lions and zebras singing along with them. But it's not a joke. Australia play Madagascar, and unfortunately, we do know what that score is going to be. Correct? But what an experience for the girls from Madagascar.
Madagascar, yeah, I would never. No, I would have laughed you off the park if you'd said that to me a while ago.
Well, I have a lot of people that were laughing me off the park. So, but I'm going to take that, and I'm keeping it. I mean, it's even with Brazil. I mean, Brazil, they've now established themselves in the women's sevens game as a force. Well, a competitive team. I wouldn't say a force, but they're there and they've picked up wins. But then we look at the men's draw and we've got Germany there, we've got Chile there. Chile, not only are they in the Sevens World Cup this year, they're in the 15s next year. We've got Jamaica there, we've got the Ugandans there, the African champions. So it's going to be a tough, tough battle. Now the thing is with news, this is what they call the pre-round of 16. So pretty much they still get other games, but the winners of these games will then go through to day two, and that's when we do see New Zealand and all that come in. And this is where they pretty much straight away go into finals. And what was that day one? I'm just trying to pull. Oh, here we go. Sorry, I have got the men here. Yeah, so we play the winner of M4, which is from memory Jamaica, Scotland. So do we cheer on the Jamaican boys?
Jamaica, man, absolutely, yeah. Well, there's still some good matchups there. Just be interesting to watch a lot of these teams play, isn't it? Portugal, Zimbabwe, against the more established teams. You think that Ireland would really run up a cricket score against Portugal, Samoa the same against Uganda. But as I said before, sevens are such a leveler, isn't it? It's such a beautiful game, and 7 minutes each way, a drop pass, an intercept here, and a sin bin there, and all of a sudden you've got a game. Anything
Yeah,
can
no,
happen.
that's
Interesting.
so. When you played the sevens, you just did a couple of those tournaments. There was no
Yeah.
World Cups.
Nah, there's no World Cup. You had I played Hong Kong, which was the big one, and then played the Fiji Sevens, which was a new tournament at that time, and then managed to get to Dubai at that stage too. And they had an international tournament, but it was an international tournament, not necessarily international teams. I went as a New Zealand Invitational Seven to Dubai, but and that was the extent of it. Then, unfortunately, it was a bit of a lead-in for all the rugby players. Then all the All Blacks played sevens at the beginning of the season. That was their fitness. And then from there, they picked
Yeah,
their so yeah, it's changed a bit now.
no, that's true. And well, I mean, after New Zealand got up and won in LA last week, I think that was perfect timing. It's almost like they've set their run, and the girls were, they're all raring to go. The weather looks great in Cape Town, so that's not too bad.
Just a shout out to my
I
mate
just
Joe
had a thought.
River. Feel sorry for the bugger. He pulled his hammy. He's out and replaced by Brady Rush. He's the only change to the New Zealand Sevens side. So sorry to hear, Joey. Get well soon, mate. It's a real bugger to miss out on a World Cup.
Oh, it totally is. I mean, we could even probably look at a show of who could have been what's the word I'm looking for here? Who could have been in a team, like a 15s team or a sevens team here in New Zealand that could have gone to a World Cup, and also ran. You often see people putting up, this is what could have been an All Black team if they had played, sort of thing, for the All Blacks. But otherwise, it's all like, oops, I've just mucked something up here. Hopefully, you're not hearing that.
No, I didn't hear anything.
Oh, okay. No, because I mean, one thing I would like to finish the show on, and we can just all sit back and relax and enjoy, is that I'll take that hat off. But anyway, so who's going to win the World Cup before I jump into what I was just about to say?
Sevens World Cup.
New Zealand all the way?
New Zealand double.
New Zealand double. Well, that's what I think should happen. Hang on, I'll just see if I can open that up. Hopefully this doesn't kick in straight away. All right, there we go. I'll just remove that for the moment. Yeah, so I'll go New Zealand, and I think both of them will win, the men and the women, and we'll get an awesome shot on Monday, I believe, maybe Sunday, Monday, New Zealand time, of us holding up the Melrose Cup again, and that will be quite good if we can go into World Cup next year as current World Cup Sevens champions, and the girls go into their World Cup this year as current World Cup Sevens champions. So, but I suppose I just want to really end the show only because I made it, and there's been a bit of talk about how good it went. This year is Wairarapa Bush are celebrating their 50th anniversary since they merged teams together. So I'll just end our show today. I'll stay around after the video. It does go for 5 minutes, but it's a great way to look at a quick glimpse at 50 years of, what can I put it, 50 years of history of Wairarapa Bush. So I am going to start that video now, and I'm going to add that to the screen, and hopefully we can all hear that.
You're muted, mate. You're muted, Kevin.
I'm muted. I am. I thought I had unmuted myself. Okay, take 3. Congratulations, Wairarapa Bush. Happy birthday for last year. Good luck against Thames Valley in the President's Cup this weekend. So that's us for another week. Thank you all for watching. Thanks for your questions. I hope you learned something from us today. So final word, Jeff. Go Waikato. Go Huapa.
Oh, yeah. No, all good. Catch you next Tuesday for a rundown of the World Cup Sevens.
Yeah, no, will do. And thanks, and we'll catch you all. And yeah, till next week.
Cool, mate.
Mucky Chat signing off. See you later.
Okay.